All right, everybody, welcome to the Human Advocate. I am the Human Advocate. Today we're going to take a look at Sam Hyde's new video that is was posted on X. It is entitled a message, or it's just called Dear Elon, Dear Elon, and it's a 46-minute video, basically breaking down the immigration issue in the United States as it currently stands today. I think it's an important debate. I think it's an important topic, and we should all be really examining this topic and really looking at the long-term implications of what it means to exist, within the United States. If we're going to go this direction of just importing people, and I'm not, saying this from a place of hate or a place of disrespect, but we have to understand that there are consequences that come from actions, and that is first and foremost. So we have to understand what exactly it is that we are getting ourselves into, and the only way to do that is by having discussion and having talk. If we're not going to have that, we're going to just silence debate, and we're going to tell people, we're going to root you out. Then there's no discussion to be had, and we obviously are an us and them mentality, and we're not going to look at the desires or the consequences that are going to arise from having such a mentality. So, with that, we're just going to kind of start from the beginning, and we're just going to go from there. I'll stop it as I find things to talk about. So we'll just go from there and see what we're working with. Let's go.
Glad I caught you. Glad I got you there. Elon Musk. By the way, please don't watch this if you're not Elon Musk, okay? This is a one-off video that we're doing. This is private, personal. I put this in his email. I don't know how you got this, unless you're on the Asmongold Discord server, in which case you know my every move, okay? Me and Asmongold have been planning this for a while now. Moist Critical's involved, and yeah, I guess if you're on the Moist Critical Discord server, you would have access to this file, so kudos to you.
I guess I should, point out he's a bit of a comedian in the first place. He's not primarily a thought leader when it comes to, politics and things, but you find that a lot of comedians actually speak a lot of truth because that's their business, which is why when the left wants to suppress comedy, there's a reason for that, because comedy is truth, and everyone understands that at a deep level. So we can't be about suppressing voices that want to make fun of things, and that's my first opening thing here.
Hacker. I don't think Elon's going to watch this. And listen, I know as a comedian, first and foremost, I don't expect people to take me seriously, but it is a fact that shit posting and public opinion are now intermingled permanently, and it's not going anywhere, and that's just the way it is. I get all my news.
It's a fair point.
From memes, basically. That's how I get my news. Is that how you get your news? How would you even get the news if you weren't looking at memes? You'd watch a show? That's even more fucking retarded. We turn that off. It's a smart thermostat, so it's going to take 15 minutes to figure out how that fucking thing works. It's very intuitive. I don't know why the Nest thermostat is taking you so long to learn and intuit. Okay, a toddler could figure this out. A toddler on an iPad could figure out how to use the Nest thermostat. That's Chris Lynch, by the way, Elon. Do not hire him, okay? He's leaving this job very soon. See, he's white. He's too lazy. Chris, you're so lazy and white. Well, yeah. You guys should have studied violin harder as kids. I swear to God, Vivek would have figured this out by now. I want to believe that Elon is one of the great...
Let me first mentioning Vivek, I was about to say Vivek. Um, I have been pretty supportive of Vivek as far as what he was trying to say and encourage in the American spirit and all of that. But um, it, after well, there's a post that is talked about later on. But after that, I mean, I'm uh, kind of miffed about the whole situation. I think there's some valid points that he raised, but the way that you talk about something matters a lot. Um, and there is to discount the whole of American society as we're just a bunch of jocks, um, that type of thing. I don't. It doesn't track. It doesn't track with the mythos of the United States, and it doesn't track with the culture that we are. If you want to make this, kind of society of really smart, technical people, then maybe that's possible within America. But you don't get America by not having. I mean, you have a brain trust, but you also have the bravery and the everything behind that goes with it, and it's not just understanding one side or the other. So there's that.
Men of our age, and that he has what it takes to become a 21st century Andrew Carnegie. I think it's
A 21st century Andrew Carnegie. That's what people want. That's what people desire in today's world. We had presidents during Andrew Carnegie's time, but we want a thought leader, another like person who's not necessarily a leader, but is also a leader, right? Like not a leader by their station, but is also a leader in what they do because they take that mantle upon themselves and they use it to benefit the people that are around them, that have supported their mission, and that and they want to give back to the people that have made them as good as they are. Um, Carnegie libraries, Carnegie institutions. There's a bunch of things known and named for the man Andrew Carnegie. But you know, Elon, if you want to be like that, if that's your goal, I don't know if that's your goal. Maybe it's not his goal. Maybe it's just a grift off of the right. But if that's your goal, then you need to be willing to support the people. Make those museums, make those investments in the people, and not just rake in the dough necessarily. You can start institutions, you could start museums, you could start libraries. You could have the Elon Musk Library Institute of Rocket Science. I don't know. I mean, you could have the Elon Musk Institute for Robotics of the 21st century. This is something that people would get behind almost immediately if you were to try and do that. And people will be on your side for that, both left and right, I think, if you were doing that. But if you're just going to be a tech guy, oligarch wizard man, then yeah, then what were you doing trying to enter politics? I don't know. Anyway,
important to have great men to look up to. Trump, Joe Rogan, oh, there it goes. Elon,
exactly.
Tucker.
Exactly.
And it's not necessarily important that our great men are perfect, but they're symbols of what we could be.
Exactly.
If Ron Paul took steroids, he would be my number one. That would be my number one guy. You agree? Yeah.
That's a great. Yeah, Ron Paul took steroids. Good comedian.
I would like to offer you an escape, an exit from this hole you've been digging. You are a beloved figure. Anytime you do anything remotely based, people lose it. Oh my God, he's based. Yo! He just said that woke liberals aren't cool. He's based. What does he say? Yeah, anytime you post an AI kitten in a MAGA hat, people lose their. He's based.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, it's because we're so used to being beat down by our own side. I think that we need to reach out, and we have to take these things and we make them our own to give us, that like encouragement boost, and everything becomes based that is in our favor. When sometimes it's just like, yeah, Bill Maher has a nice opinion once in a while, but doesn't mean he's based. You know, it just means that he has a decent opinion. Bad people can have decent opinions. Good people have bad opinions, which is why I'm not entirely discounting Vivek. But, maybe I disagree with probably a lot of people, but maybe he's just not kind of in tune with the American spirit. So that's okay. It doesn't make him a bad person. It just means that he's not the person that perhaps America needs right now. And we need to believe in ourselves. That's the number one thing. And being based helps with that self-belief, but it doesn't come from everywhere.
Fucking based, man. For the guy who's the free speech guy, and not only that, but the reasoning from first principles guy, the logical fallacy guy, the Reddit guy, good faith argue with everybody, whatever. All that shit. Blanket banning groypers, taking away blue checks, changing the algorithm of the site because 100 people ratioed you, because there's fucking 50,000 posts. They're all organic, by the way. This is not some Russian bot farm. It's not some nefarious behind the scenes, let's mess with Elon, we're gonna fuck with him. That's not what it is. It's you tapped into a moist critical. You tapped into a moist critical, and we're back to moist critical. Mainline concern for the American people. And you treated it in a way that was glib and dismissive. You just became a Republican 3 months ago, and you're talking about removing a big portion of regular people, root and stem. No. People fucking...
Yeah, and that is a very big thing. I mean, that kind of language, when you want to use that type of language, that's tyrannical language. That's like cutting off free speech. That's like getting rid of people you disagree with. That's the same road that we have argued and advocated against liberalism, because that leads nowhere good. Because when you stifle conversation, when you stifle debate, you don't get better outcomes. You get worse outcomes because there's less knowledge going around. And if it's true that he's suppressed those on the right or the far right, that's just not feasible. It's just not for a long-term success of a free speech platform. You have to be able to take the heat, and you can dish it out too. So it's not just things that you agree with, and I understand that. I think most people understand that. But if you are the self-described free speech guy, then you have to be able to handle sometimes getting ratioed. It's just comes with the territory. You can't always say, I'm going to have the best opinion every day for the rest of my life, always. That's perfectionism. That's utopianism. That's a losing, anti-human way of thinking. And it is terrible. It is terrible. You have to be able to realize that I had a bad opinion, or I had opinion the majority of people don't agree with, and that's okay. But you don't make it better by silencing people with whom disagree with you. Just because you're a super maniac brain genius doesn't give you the right and the authority to start banning people left and right, even though it's your platform. But if we want to go back to that argument, then we're just going in circles as far as what the left it has said. So they own the platform; they can do whatever they want. So then we're back on a free speech debate. Are we pursuing free speech here? If that's the case, then we need to be arguing for that, not trying to silence debate. Anyway, continuing.
They love you. They will forgive you. Nobody is trying to get you to become turbo base pilled, full Pat Buchanan immigration policy. People broadly understand that you are a San Francisco, tech, California, international immigrant. If you want to be a regular tech guy, that's fine. You can do that. You can be Larry Ellison. You can go play on the boat. Nobody's going to give a fuck. Realize what you're fighting for. If you're going to be the tech king, if you've courted the MAGA base, you wanted these people on your side. They're ready to be on your side, but you have to fight not for Ben Shapiro's idea of the country of America, the notion of America as this collection of ideas. That's not what it is. It's Americans.
That is perfect. I mean, that's just, people like to talk about, yeah, America is an idea. No country that has ever been a nebulous idea has succeeded. Ideas don't form society necessarily. You have to have work and effort and time and investment to form a society, a functioning, working human population that wants to get things done. This America as a nebulous idea that we can just bring people in and they're just going to go along with everything that America is because it's an idea. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if that's true. But there's so many things that you bring from where you come from. And it'd be kind of ridiculous to believe that you would leave all of those things behind and totally form and morph to every single thing that you go to the country for. We've lost the idea of assimilation because that's racist. We've lost the idea of trying to be a good guest in a host country. That's racist. We've lost the idea of conducting yourself on morals. Morals don't exist, they're relative. So when you have all these methods, these ideas, and they're all nebulous and they don't mean anything, there's nothing concrete to them, why would you expect anyone to follow the ideas? The only thing that you can enforce your ideas with is by law, punishment, and reward. And the incentives and the punishments and incentives are too high for people to come in and can retain their own ideas, and there are no punishments for not retaining those ideas. We've made a society that incentivizes destroying the ideas that made us who we are. We can't survive, we can't thrive, we can't live that way. We have to be able to stand up and say, hey, here's some things that you are going to have to do if you want to be here. And that's not terrible. That's not an awful thing to say. It's just about, I have boundaries, and I would like you as a guest for the time being, until I get to know you, until we are on the same playing field, to accept those boundaries and keep them. Because if you don't, there should be consequences for that. It's pretty simple. America is not just an idea, it's a people. It's a people, and we should have standards, and we should have values, and we should have things that allow us to continue to advance our society. It is not just meant to be replaced by people with different ideas. Moving on.
That's who you have to fight for. If you're in America, doing business in America, you want to be the man in America, you have to fight for the American people. You're not fighting for a paragraph. You're not fighting for a set of ideas, man. It's the American people who need your help. That's fundamentally why.
Exactly. And that's why we're all here. That's why America is the way that it is because we are all fighting for the idea of thriving, and we are people that occupy land, and that we need to understand that we are trying to make the best life possible for the people that are here, and that requires trust, and that requires cohesion. And you can't expect cohesion if we continue to bring in those with different values and that say, I'm an economic unit, use me however you want, use my body until it's dust. That's not feasible. That's not a way to conduct society.
I think people are pissed off here, and it's an easy fix. Just don't call them retards. Elon, have you met Chris? He's on Asmongold. He's streaming all the time. You should check him out. He's playing these games and stuff. He's amazing what the kid does with video games. I can't believe it. People didn't suddenly have a flare-up of India hate.
There's this sudden. It's not about hate for Indians. It's literally about replacement of work. It just so happens that we are choosing the most immigrants from India. If it was anywhere else, I don't think it would still be an issue. If it was from Russia, we had Russian immigrants coming into the United States and taking American jobs, we'd still be upset. Still would be upset. If it was British people, a bunch of Brits that drink tea, and all they want to do is drink tea all day and bow to the Queen. They couldn't forget the allegiance to the Queen or the King. It would still piss off America. It would still piss off Americans. It just so happens that Indians have a very high in-cultural group preference, and they prefer to hire within their cultural group preference. It's not about the people that come. It's about taking away the opportunities of those who live here. That's it. That is what it's about. I can't go to India and get an Indian job and expect that I'm going to keep my American lifestyle. I can't go to Britain and do the same. I can't go to Russia. There's sacrifices that have to be made in order to be a part of that society. We've forgotten what sacrifice is. Sacrifice and belief.
Monitoring the Indian hate websites for a while. It's actually set to my homepage. I've been checking these websites out. I watch what these people do. There were very few overt Indian haters spewing their nonsensical filth everywhere 72 hours ago. What happened? Okay, 72 hours ago, most people in the MAGA base looked at Vivek Ramaswamy with some notion of admiration, or hey, that guy says cool stuff every once in a while. Hey, you know what? I think I like that guy. Now, he's got to be deported. Sucks, man. And he's not being deported because of the color of his skin. He's being deported for the content of his character. And I think that truly was a mask-off moment where we saw that Vivek Ramaswamy really is just a fucking nerd who needs to go back.
I've said what I've said about Vivek, and I generally like the guy, but yeah, that post that he had is just totally missing the idea of the American spirit. And just because we don't want to work and don't want to study triathlon doesn't mean that the people here should suffer. Study triathlon, study for a decathlon or whatever, brain trivia tournament competition, it doesn't mean that the people around me should suffer. I don't want that. I want the people to live here around me, my neighbors, to have the best life possible. And I should want that for everyone. And I do. But you can't, degrade the people that live here and expect them to also be on your side. That's nonsensical. You're not going to earn any friends that way. And if you want to stand alone on that particular object or subject, then that's up to you. So,
I think that what you did is different. I think it's everybody spurgs out. I'm spurging out right now. I'm going to spurg out later, okay? On Chris, Lynch. And also, Indians do cool stuff every once in a while. They get the chest slapping, wrestling. You guys watch that? Action movies. He's shooting a bullet out of the air with a gun. He's flipping over the tuk-tuk. Indian clubs, shoulder rehab, exercise, fantastic. The hate, it's irrational hate. It's just racism. It's just a nonsensical racism. The hate and racism and anti-Indian sentiment, it's there to the extent that Indians are being used to replace white people. That's it. We have to stop.
there you go. And there you go. And there you go. I mean, I just, it doesn't matter. I mean, we are here and we have a culture and we have a society. We have people that work and we have standards of what our work expectations are. But if you're going to come over here and drive those expectations lower than our forefathers, I am upset. And I'm upset for a good reason. Because society is supposed to go up. The line for human happiness and success in life is supposed to go up. It's not supposed to go down. And people get pretty pissed off when the trajectory is down. And that's what you're making it. You're making the line go up for those who rule, and you're making the line go down for those who live. Pretty simple.
Playing pretend. We're not talking about exceptional Indians here. And that's why this is sort of spreading like wildfire, people sharing these H1B lists of what the jobs are. You are not in Calcutta scouting for the next Indian Einstein. You're not. We have to make it to outer space and invent new computers. Let's get to India and get the next Nikola Tesla. That's not what's happening. We're talking about people at fucking gas stations. You bring them over, you put them in a fucking gas station, and then we'll go around all the gas stations in the USA and find the next genius. Well, what if he's not in India? What if he's working at a gas station in North Carolina? He might be there. We don't know. Why don't we bring everybody here and then we can look for everybody? That's actually a fucking genius idea. We bring fucking everybody here and then, like a needle in a haystack, we find the one man who can invent electrical computer. That sounds fucking retarded and it's not true.
And it's not true. And it's absolutely not true. If you're going to have an argument about immigration, and then you're gonna say, "Oh, we're bringing over the top 1% talent," you can't just continue bringing over people that are gonna work in gas stations and Chippendales and entry-level jobs that require 20 years of experience, by the way. And then have the foreigner just bypass that whole experience thing because they're cheaper. It's simple. That's how it works. You are not finding the geniuses, okay? The geniuses are here in America, and they're from small towns that are flyover country. They're not in the high-minded parts of society in the White Castle towers. Ivory Towers, not White Castle. Maybe they are in the White Castle towers, but they're not in Washington, D.C., or New York City, or Los Angeles, Denver, Colorado. No. The ideas that we need more than ever today are the ideas of small town rural America. Those are the ideas that need to be prospered and looked at and understood, because those are the ideas where they take into account everybody that lives here. You're not going to find these geniuses in gas stations, and it's a terrible argument. Terrible argument.
You have to at least say that the H1B program is being scammed. If you don't admit that, then as far as like any type of discussion that goes anywhere is concerned, it's over. It's over.
Exactly. If you don't start with the premise that the system is being abused, then you have no leg to stand on. You can't just continue to argue for en masse, forever immigration, legal or non, and say, yeah, the system's fine as it is. That makes no sense. You gotta point out the flaws of the system if you're gonna have a debate. You can't just go with the system as it is. And I realize now he's actually, made some posts saying, I think the system's broken. Well, why didn't you say that in the first place? What was the point? Why did you have this huge thing if that was the case? It makes no sense to me, unless someone told you to, hey, shut the up, because it's just not gonna work.
This is a direct quote from Moist Critical himself. I'm speaking on his behalf. He was too busy streaming Marvel Rivals to talk to you. So I'm here on his behalf, giving you opinions that he approved, okay? Nobody's expecting you to go full Steve Bannon here. You're a tech bro, we get it. Immigrant. But if you are on Team America, and by Team America, I don't mean Ben Shapiro's collection of ideas. America's not a collection of ideas. America is a people, Americans. If you are Team America, then the most prominent talking points need to be the immediate deportation of illegals and the end of the abuse of the American worker by programs like this H1B, the gamification of stuff like this that's set up to benefit people who aren't us. Nobody wants to solve the Japanese birth rate problem by turning Japan into India. That's preposterous. That only would work in a computer simulation where you can just change the code and make a Japanese person. I've tried it! It can't be done. In my laboratory, okay, where Asmongold is right now, down in the basement, I have tried over 150 times to turn an Indian into a Japanese man. And the only thing I was able to accomplish was boiling them. All right? If you think, Elon, or Asmongold, if you're watching this, if you think you can turn an Indian person into a Japanese person by boiling them, not gonna happen, okay? Go down to my basement and talk to the 150 Indians that I already tried that on. Doesn't work. Nobody wants to solve the American birth rate problem. What's gonna happen? We're gonna run out of people. Oh, the stock prices are gonna go down. Oh, that's a problem for the All In podcast to figure out. It's David Sachs. Sachs of what? Sachs of gold? Just start calling yourself David Sachs of gold. What's the other guy? Jason Sachs? Asmongold? Asmongold. David Sachs should change his name to Asmongold. The branding is already set up for you. Asmongold wants to himself. You can replace his body and become the top streamer.
Oh my God.
In America, I shouldn't say Asmongold wants to himself. I love Asmongold. That guy's classic. He's the ultimate. He's the best streamer. Is he good? I think he's good. I've never watched him. I just know his name is Asmongold. The only people who want to fix the American birth rate problem by turning America into India are fuckers. People are not interchangeable economic units.
That is the crux of the argument. You don't get America by importing all of India. You just don't. You don't get Japan by importing all of China. You don't. You don't get Russia by importing all of Italy. It doesn't happen. You know why? Because there's geographic things that shape your whole personality, your whole life, your culture, everything that goes into that. There's things that make up a human being. And if we're going to go down this road of, we can just, let's just take all the Indians and replace all the Americans, then we're going to create the society that India is, and we're not going to have the society that America is. And no American, sorry, I won't say no American. Most Americans, I would bet, if you polled them and you said, would you like to live in the same way that India lives? And they would say, no, I'd like to live the way an American lives, which is how we live, with success and with cars and food on the table and having families and children, not pooing in the streets. Most people would say that's reasonable. I would like that in my life, please. An opportunity, an employment, not to work 100 hours a week, 80 hours a week. That'd be great. Thanks. I don't want to work the lifestyle that India has, because if I did, I'd be an Indian or I'd immigrate over there. It makes no sense otherwise. And what he said about, you can't make Japanese people out of Indian people. You can't make any people out of another people. That's slavery. You're going down a road of reductionist thinking, of turning people into common denominators, making them numbers on a spreadsheet, making them cogs in a machine that you run. And if that's the way you think about humanity, you are my enemy. And I would hope they're most of your enemies as well, because people are not cogs. We are individuals that have ideas, cultures, aspirations, and everything else that goes along with that. A Japanese person is not an Indian person, is not an American person, is not a Russian person, is not an Italian person. They're different. Respect that.
They're not more than that, then that's just an extension of antinatalism. That's just nihilism. That's just people don't matter. Neil deGrasse.
Exactly. This is probably one of the most prescient points of the whole video, is that does matter. It
Tyson, the universe doesn't care shit. The universe cares. That's
Yes.
why we're here.
Yes.
It's understandable
Yes.
why a computer guy...
Yes and yes. Yes and yes. Yes and yes. There's no getting around that. Okay? If you don't believe that we're here for a reason, if you don't believe in that, then America is not for you. America is not for you. America is a place not for nihilists. The whole idea of America is to believe in yourself and believe in the people that are around you and believe that we are good and that we can trust each other, one another, to do good. It is not built on nihilism. It is not built on self-defeat. It is not built on self-destruction and deprecation. It's built on what can we build today together with my fellow human beings, with my brothers and sisters. That's what it's about.
Why an engineer would think that or would want to think that, because it would make solving problems so much easier.
And this is why I don't don't necessarily hate Elon, because that's his way of thinking. And that's how he got to be so brilliant. And that's great. And we should appreciate that there is a portion of society that has allowed him to flourish in this way by making all of that possible. But if you expect all of America to be on board with working infinite amounts of hours for the glory of the future of the world, of the nation, that's just not the way, man. This is not the way. You have to be willing to give people some time off, benefits, loyalty towards themselves, towards you. It have to be reciprocated. These are things that are inherent within a nation, and if you're not going to give them the benefit of the doubt yourself, then you don't get it. You don't get to be a thought leader in American society. You don't get to be someone that is part of figuring it out for the future of the world, because your thing is seeing a line on a graph go up. And if that is your understanding of the world, then that is not humanity. That is not good for all people. That is good for you. That is good for maybe your ego. Sure. But it is not good for the rest of America. And you have to understand that. And I suppose Vivek is kind of the same way, believing that interchangeable units or things on a spreadsheet just be placed and switched and replaced. And you can think that way, but there are consequences to thinking that way. And one of them would be backlash. When you tell people, yeah, you're just an interchangeable unit, I can just switch you out in whenever I want. And you would expect people to just be okay with that? You would just expect them to be like, you're right, you're totally fine. Yeah, I'm just a cog in a machine for you to be using whenever you want. Go ahead, boss. Give me some more, please. Whip me some more if you don't mind. That kind of thinking is a downward trajectory. It is not an upward trajectory. And you need to understand that, Elon. You need to understand that, technocrats of the world. Line go up doesn't mean good.
We have hardwired group preferences. We have genetic memory. We have culture. This is not learned stuff. It's so deeply embedded in us that it carries on for thousands of years. Thinking of people as interchangeable units, while it would be useful in a simulation or in an economic
And it would be useful.
theorem, it strips them of their humanity. And by the way,
and it does. And it does. And you don't get to lead humans when you strip humans of humanity. That makes no sense. What do you want, Elon? What do you want? You have to be clear if that's what you want. If you want to lead humans, then you have to behave, what's the word? Humanely. If you don't, then stay in your little corner and leave us in peace.
The way, it's one of the first steps towards any authoritarian dictatorship type system. It's one of the first steps towards Marxism.
Exactly. It's the dehumanization of people. And it is one of the first steps towards Marxism. This utilitarianist view of what can I get out of you, of what can I get out of, this object, this thing that is next to me. Useful. Yes. Use. Sure. Good? Quantifiable? No. That's not a quantifiable metric. You can't base society upon solely quantifiable metrics. Government should be based upon quantifiable metrics that are actually real and not made up. But human beings aren't that. They aren't just quantifiable metrics. You don't get freedom, flourishing, humanity, liberty, high-minded ideals if you don't accept that not everyone is a cog to be used in a machine. If you keep dehumanizing people and making them out to be lesser, then your system will beget a system that thinks humans are lesser to be used for some great goal or some utopian vision. And if that's what you want, you're a utopianist, then keep me far away. Far away. Utopianism is the way to destroy society, destroy death. Because one man's utopia is another man's dystopia. And that's not good. That is not good. No one can ever agree on utopia, and no one can ever agree on a dystopia. And if we can't agree, then we shouldn't strive towards it. We should make life as best as we can for most amount of people with the least amount of intrusion. That's the way we solve things. In America, anyway.
Is thinking of people as just labor. It's a very gross, anti-human thing to think.
Yes.
Just to appeal to the Redditor in you. That's middle brain shit. Stupid people at the bottom of the spectrum know that everybody is special. Everybody's special. Everybody's different and has their own thing. Retards know this. Geniuses understand that everybody is a unique product by and for their Zeitgeist, or Zeitgeist if you want to go with the moist critical pronunciation. Everybody is uniquely a product of their time and location and has their place in space and time.
Yes. Yes and yes, which is why you can't bring George Washington back into the 21st century and expect him to just congeal. And even though this is America, he's an American technically, but if you brought him from the 18th century into the 21st century, he would think this is not what he made. This is not where he grew up. This is not his country, because it's not. Because he was a product of his time. Same with Abraham Lincoln. You can't bring him from the 19th century into the 21st century and expect him to be like, oh yeah, this is still America. This is the America I love. Just like you can't bring Catherine the Great into current day Russia. It wouldn't, she would be like, this is unrecognizable. This doesn't make any sense to me. Product of her time, of her age, of her descent, of her geography, of her culture. If you take me and you put me back in the 1700s, I'm not gonna mesh very well, because the way I speak and the way that I conduct business and everything else. It probably won't last very long. Everything has a place and time where it is supposed to be and be used in its current place and time to improve that place and time. If we are okay with the fact that we take things out of place and time and put them into places that are not necessarily the place and time, then we're playing we're trying to be God. We're trying to be God. And that doesn't fly. That don't fly. Okay? Only thing that decides where a person should be, where and when should be God. It shouldn't be incentivized by programs and profit margins. It should be God. If God wanted George Washington to be born today, he'd be here. It'd be a new George Washington. Be a new Martin Luther King. It'd be a new other kind of person, thought leader. You can't take Joe Rogan and put him back in the 18th century and expect him to do well. He doesn't have a podcast. There's nothing to podcast with. It wouldn't make sense. Would not make sense.
The smart people know this. The stupid people know this. It's people in the middle with 110 IQ,
that think we're all we're just interchangeable people that we have no country, no home, no family, no geography. It can all just be switched here, 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 here. You're good. Terrible thinking. Totally ignores the human experience. Totally ignores everything. This blank slate BS. Terrible thinking.
Which is the worst IQ to have, who think that people can just be pushed around and moved around and changed. They can't.
And that's absolutely true.
Hate.
It's the same thing for Hispanics. Absolutely. And I think now I've kind of gone on long enough for this one, so I might do another segment to another time. But this is, I think, long enough now. So I appreciate you watching, and if you have any comments, questions, suggestions as to my channel, as to how I'm doing things, feel free to subscribe, and do enjoy the content. I will be producing more for the new year. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Remember, stay human.